Well, hello, and we can celebrate tonight with 3 points for Hull City and a first home win of 2025. A first home win since before Christmas. Comfortable it was as well. Can we really believe we're saying that from a Hull City performance at the MKM Stadium? But it's true. If you were here tonight, you'd have seen it for yourselves. If you watched or you followed it, certainly if you watched it, you'd have seen it for yourselves. They beat Plymouth 2-0, and it was all rather comfortable. As I say, it's hard to believe given what we've gone through this season. Just 2 home wins before tonight, but yeah, they dominated the game. They had to wait, City, until 5 minutes into the second half for Joe Gelhardt to thrash them into the lead, and then they got a rather fortuitous second goal. João Pedro played through by the brilliant Gustavo Puerta. The offside flag stayed down. He rolled it across to Abu Kamara, who couldn't believe his luck and rolled in pretty much to an empty net. And if we're honest, the scoreline flattered Plymouth, because after that, City could have had a couple more goals. And probably, if we're being hypercritical, a more clinical side with better quality in the final third would have probably put 5, 6, maybe more past Plymouth. So bad were they defensively. But take nothing away from City, because this was a game they needed to win. This was a game they had to win. You know, a week ago we were sat here pretty much to the time, really, down in Cardiff, and they'd been beaten 1-0. We all felt frustrated. The manager was frustrated. They had one effort on target, and that was Alfie Jones. With 8 minutes to go, it was bad, and it was a game they could not afford to lose, and they did. And so they've had a week to prepare for this. They just needed to win the game, and they've done that. And I was really impressed with just how professional it was. This was the sort of performance that you'd have expected from a team kind of mid-table towards the top end, in terms of the control they had in the game, the way they managed it. Plymouth didn't have a single shot on goal. A single shot on target in the 90 minutes or 98, 99 minutes, however long we played in the end. And it was just remarkably routine. And I'm sure you folks that, like me, have watched every game this season, particularly at home. And that's not something we've been used to. So forgive me if I'm a little bit kind of in shock at what I've seen, because I've got to be honest, and I don't mind admitting it, I was bloody petrified coming here today, because I just knew the importance. We all knew the importance of this game. You know, had they have lost tonight, it's unthinkable. You know, yes, they wouldn't have been relegated. Yes, there's still 11 games to go, but just the feeling around the stadium, around the group, around the fans, and the league table would have been really bad if they'd have lost tonight, or you know, even if they'd have drawn. A draw, for me, I was having this argument with Burnsy, kind of a friendly argument before the game, and Burnsy was like, "Look, it must not lose. A point wouldn't be terrible." I'm like, it would. I think a point tonight would have been terrible, because at some point they've got to start winning some games at home if they're going to get out of it. And a point at home to a Plymouth team that have been garbage. They've got the worst away record in the entire EFL, or in the entire country, I think. So to have not beaten them tonight would have sent out a terrible message. And if you can't beat the worst team away from home at home, where are you at? You know, and they needed to start winning some games at home, because you can't keep relying on their away form. And they've got a really difficult away game at Bristol City on Saturday, a really difficult away game at West Brom next Saturday, with obviously Oxford sandwiched in the middle. They needed to win tonight just to make everybody feel a little bit better about things. You know, now I think that the mood around the stadium against Oxford next Wednesday will be completely different. The mood in the fan base now is completely different to what it would have been had they have not won tonight. And it was just the ease at which look, the first half, they weren't great. They dominated the game without creating a bucket load of chances. They should have been in front. I mean, they created 3 or 4 really good moments. Probably the best one, a delightful clip from right to left from Steven Alzate back in the team, to Gustavo Puerta back in the team, and he really should have scored. But he headed it straight at the goalkeeper, who made a good save, in fairness, but he should have scored. There were 1 or 2 other moments, not necessarily clear-cut chances per se, but good moments. You know, Carl Joseph playing down the left, got into a couple of good positions, put a couple of balls across. There was another one first half where he twisted and turned, looked like he'd got a shooting opportunity but fell over. I don't know if it was I haven't seen any replays in real time. I just thought he should have stayed on his feet. There was one in Cardiff last week where Joseph should have stayed on his feet, but he went down when he took it past the goalkeeper Horvath, but went down. Something maybe we need to look at in a bit more in depth there, you know, in the days to come. But what I would say about Joseph, I thought he was always a willing runner. He gave them an outlet down the left hand side, and he created moments for them. I thought Puerto, as I say, was excellent in midfield, and we'll skip ahead to the second goal actually, because while we're talking about him, because his turn and his pass for João Pedro was absolutely brilliant. And there were a couple of moments in the game where Puerto, in tight spaces, he dropped his shoulder, he got away from his man, he swiveled on the ball to get him set. You know, he's obviously a quality player. The doubt around Puerto is him doing it consistently, but he's not the only one. You know, there's a lot of players that on their day in that Hull City team are fantastic. The trouble is their day is winning 3 games, winning 4 games, winning 5 games, and that is why they're playing at Hull City, and why Hull City are at bottom end of the Championship, because they don't do it consistently enough week after week after week. If they did, City would be top 6, not bottom 6. But look, and that isn't me being critical about tonight's performance, because I thought right from the start, they had, from the kick-off, Joseph, they attacked down the left hand side with Joseph, and the referee gave a foul against him, which I thought was harsh actually. But look, we've challenged them to deliver a home performance. Not only have they delivered a home performance, but they've delivered a convincing victory, and we can ask no more. And at this stage of the season, I'll be honest, I don't really care how the performances come. It's about 3 points. If you can play well and win the game, that's good, especially in the position they're in at this stage of the season. So I think it's really positive that they've been able to look. You can't get away from the fact that the stress and the pressure on the staff and the players, because of the home form, we know that it's their home form is the reason why they are where they are. It's not the away form. They've won 4 out of 6 away from home. That's, you know, if you were challenging for the playoffs, you'd be happy with 4 wins out of 6 away from home. It's the home form has been awful. We know it. You can't get away from it. It's smacking you in the face week after week after week. So, and given the fact that Plymouth have had a bit of a resurgence under Miron Mueslic, the new manager, obviously they've done well in the FA Cup, winning away at Brentford, beating Liverpool, you know, battling against Manchester City. Plymouth I thought would come here tonight and give it a real go, but they didn't. They were awful. But again, how much of that was down to Plymouth and how much of that was actually down to the way that Hull City played? And I've got to give credit to their manager, because he came in post-match and he was, you know, he didn't make a big thing of the goal that was, as I said, I've only seen a quick replay, and he did look just off. Their manager said he was 1.5 meters offside. I'm not sure it was that, from the clip I've seen. Not sure it was that obvious, but, you know, look, he was very much, look, City deserved to be in front at half-time. They were the better team. They deserved to win the game. Absolutely, we were rubbish. Absolutely no complaints. And so it's actually quite refreshing to hear an opposition manager be quite so open and honest. But yeah, look, as I say, the stress was on City tonight. All the pressure was on City. It would have been, had they have not had a wretched home record. They needed to win the game, and they've done it. And they did it with plenty to spare. And as I say, if it had finished 3 or 4-0 tonight, I don't think anybody from Plymouth would have had any complaints. And I think that probably would have been a fair assessment of the game. I'm not saying they created legions of shots at goal. I'm not saying the goalkeeper was having to make save after save, but there was a lot of nearly moments. As I say, there was a phase in the second half where they got an overload down the left-hand side. They shifted it quickly. Crooks was in on goal, sort of got stuck under his feet. It wasn't a chance, a shot on goal, but it was a moment, a nearly moment. And they probably had, 8 or 10 of those in the game where, with better decision-making in the final third, they could have got a shot away and perhaps a goal. And I don't know who it was that referenced Sean McLaughlin earlier in the piece, but yeah, I thought Maka was great tonight. Funny enough, the first goal came from, it was kind of like, it was a classic centre-half shot, wasn't it? Particularly a left-footed centre-half shot, because I think he swung on his right foot and it, from the edge of the box inside the D, and it sort of deflected off a defender, and it went straight into the path of Gelhardt, who just battered it into the net. He didn't take a touch. He didn't have time to take a touch, and he smashed it in the bottom corner. And from that moment onwards, you were like, go on then, go and put them to the sword. Go and get that second goal. Don't leave it, and it's 1-0, and it gets really nervy, and you're hanging on, and you end up, gifting a really awful goal, and you lose. You draw the game, or you go, or worse still, you lose the game. They never, they scored 5 minutes into the second half. They then had chances, and then eventually scored the second goal, I think 61 minutes. So within pretty much 10 minutes of the 2 goals, they've gone 2-0 up, and they kept what I liked about it. There was a little spell after the first goal where Plymouth had a bit of pressure. I say pressures in the loosest sense. But they got the second goal, and they kept trying to get the third goal, and I really like that. And they were able to make changes. We saw Regan come on. Great to see Casey Palmer back, his first game in 2.5 months, and by my Christ, you could see, wasn't he? He was so eager to get it out. He gave away a couple of silly free kicks. Just his eagerness to get it out of his system. He's not played since Coventry in early December. Great to get him back on the pitch. Obviously, Cody Drameh came off the bench late on in stoppage time. Mason Burstow came on. I just think there was no negatives. Last week, not only was the result poor, but you had the Matazo injury. Obviously, we had confirmation. We knew on that night about Louis Barry's injury. There was no real positives coming back from Cardiff last Tuesday night. Tonight, they've won 2-0. They've kept a clean sheet. Nobody's injured. Matt Crooks, he did miss tonight, but we expect that he will be back for Ashton Gate Saturday. James, you're right. I was going to say, actually, and the other good thing, they've kept a clean sheet, so that's another positive with their goal difference as well, which was better than everybody else around them, but it's increased tonight, obviously, by the scoreline. And what they've done tonight, not only have they put 5 points between themselves and the bottom 3, 6 to Plymouth, but 5 to Luton. It's effectively 6 to Luton because of the huge chasm of difference in the goal difference. So, but what they've done is they've gone above Stoke, they've gone back above Cardiff, and they've dragged Oxford back into it. And I've been saying for weeks I don't think Oxford are out of the mess yet. Well, the gap to Oxford is 2 points. Obviously, Oxford are here next Wednesday. Portsmouth are still within reach. Swansea are only 3 or 4 points further ahead. So, what that win tonight has done, it's been massive, because not only has it put that gap, which is I think the biggest gap now. They've had under Ruben. When Ruben came, they were bottom of the table, a couple of points adrift to safety. Well, they've now got a gap, and I think it's the biggest gap since sometime in November, going back way into November. So, it's big, and also, yes, I know as bad as that result in Cardiff was, but actually for a team in the bottom end of the table, in the predicament the City were actually in, it's now, I think, in the last 4 games, they've drawn with Norwich, they've lost at Cardiff, but they've won at Sunderland, and now they've beaten Plymouth. So 2 wins and a draw in 4 games. I think if before the Norwich game, we'd have probably taken it. It's just how the results have come. If you'd have lost at Sunderland but beaten Cardiff, I don't think anybody would have really batted an eyelid, would they? But it's just their results. They do it almost like arse about face. They beat Sheffield United, but then lose to Stoke. But in many ways, beating Stoke would have been better than beating Sheffield United, because as good as that was at winning at Bramall Lane, I'm taking nothing away. We all had a great night, but in the context of their league, beating Stoke would have been better, because they lost to Stoke. Stoke moved ahead of them, and the same with Cardiff. Now, thankfully, they've reeled both of those teams back in and gone above them, which is really important. But they just seem to do things in I say, back to front. But as long as they get points on the board, that's the main thing. But the picture looks a lot more rosy, doesn't it now? And it is 5 points is from where they've been is a huge gap. Now, if they lose at Bristol and Luton win, that could go back to 2 points again, and suddenly it's back. But what that result tonight has done is given them a massive, it's just a massive win. Forget points difference and all that sort of thing for a minute. It's hugely important in their remaining home games, because now it lifts that monkey off the back, if you like. Now everybody, as I said before, everybody will come, next Wednesday night against Oxford believing that City can win a game, because they've won a game comfortably. Rather than it being 1-0 and really nervy or 2-1, they've won it with some to spare. They've won it with a clean sheet. Yes, Plymouth were turgid. Yes, Plymouth away from home, that's 18 games away from home for Plymouth this season, and they've now lost 13. They've only scored 6. They've conceded 42, I think, if memory serves. So Plymouth are bad. We have to factor that in. But I'm not taking anything away from Hull City, because that was a really tricky game for them tonight. The pressure was on, and I don't want to use the words bottled it at Cardiff, but they didn't deliver a complete performance in Cardiff, and they allowed Cardiff who were awful themselves, to get a leg up on them, and they couldn't afford to do that. The pressure was really on tonight, and lots of questions, lots of fans questioning the mentality of the players, and rightly so, because they've had weak mentality here. Not away from home. Away from home, we've seen a very different side to them. At home, they've been mentally weak, and tonight they weren't. From the moment, from the start, they were at it, and as I say, it wasn't the greatest first half, and they didn't get the goal they needed. But the second half was much, much better, and the first half gave them a platform to go and deliver that second half and get the goals, as I say, at really important times, and they've won the game. And had they have won it by a nervy 1-0, we'd have all come away going, thank Christ, they've won the game. That's all that matters. The fact they've won it so convincingly is a real positive, but they've got to back it up now. At the risk of being cliched, and we've talked about it a lot before, they've now, few will give them a hope at Bristol City. Bristol City have won tonight, Millwall 2-0. They're obviously, right in the thick of the playoff race, and all credit to Bristol City. And I don't think we've won a league game at Bristol City since 2012. I know we won a few years ago in the League Cup, but we've not won I think it's 7 games without a win at Ashton Gate now. A bit like it was for we'd won the last 7, or was 7 unbeaten at Cardiff. So hopefully it works in our favour that way. But they've shown at Sheffield United, they've shown at Sunderland, at home to Leeds, that against teams in the top half of the table, teams that are challenging at the top in the key areas, they can get a result. And the outside looking in, nobody will give City a prayer down at Ashton Gate, but they'll go there now with real confidence, particularly having won at Sunderland, and Sheffield United. Why can't they go there and get a positive result? And I think if they could get I think, Tom, you make a fair point. I think if you offered most people a point at Ashton Gate on Saturday, they'd probably take it. But I think Ruben's attitude, I know Ruben's attitude will be, we can go there and win. We've done it with respect to Bristol City, far tougher places. And Ashton Gate is always a difficult place. As I say, City have got a terrible record there, and Bristol City have got one of the better home records in the division. But when you've been to Sheffield United, you've been to Sunderland, you ain't going to fear going to Bristol City, with all due respect, are you? So I know what he will say, that they will go there believing they can win, and rightly so. That is the attitude they have every game. At least they're going there on the back of this, and if they can get a positive result, well, then you've got Oxford at home, and Oxford, I've been saying for weeks, they had that initial spur when Gary Rowett took over. You thought they were moving clear, but it looks like they've hit a bit of a brick wall, Oxford. They might still have enough in the bank, but I'm really intrigued to see I think Plymouth, their home form is what is going to keep them in the division. They are impotent away from home. Derby just look impotent wherever they go. Their squad is poor. Derby have got 2 points since Boxing Day. You feel that Derby will be taking one of those spots in League One next season. It's who joins them now. Are Luton going to react? Luton have obviously got the first win since before Christmas against Portsmouth. Portsmouth, their 3-game winning run is ended. There's 11 games to go. So much can still happen, but it's in City's grasp, and they've won the game. That's all we could ask for them. Now it's about trying to build on it, and that's something, as we all know, they've not been able to do all season. They've only once this season have they won back-to-back games. Well, if they can go and do that at Bristol City, that would be amazing. But what this result is just, this is more. I know that it is only 3 points, and people go, you get 3 points for beating Plymouth as you did for Sheffield United. But I think there's so much more about tonight that is more than just 3 points. It was a 6-pointer. Instead of being level on points with Plymouth, they're now 6 points clear of Plymouth. As I said before, they've gone above Stoke and Cardiff. They've dragged other teams back into it. But more than that, it's the fact that they've won a home game, and that is that massive, massive thing they needed to do, and it should set them up now for what is to come for the next 2 home games, which are Oxford and Luton. They've now proven that they can win a game at home. They've proven they can beat a team around them. having lost to Stoke and Cardiff. So look, everything's positive tonight, isn't it? And that is the beauty of how just fluid football can be. You know, a week ago we were all at death's door. We're depressed, we're furious and worried, frankly, about the manner of that performance and the result. But fast forward a week and we're all going away from here tonight buzzing because they've won, clean sheet. You know, the picture at the bottom looks a whole lot rosier, and you can start to look up the table. So yeah, happy days. Some really good. Gelhardt was great tonight in that more central role. I thought Puerta was very good. Alzate, a couple of dodgy moments. There's that one pass in the first half, really lazy across midfield, and they sprung forward, but they got away with it. But he showed his quality at times. I thought McLaughlin was good. Hughes and Jones as well. Coyle. You know, I thought they all played well tonight. Goalkeeper never had anything to do. So you know, that was great. No injuries, as I say. Crooks should be back for the weekend, which is another positive. And they've been able to do it. I think most people would have gone, oh, he's not in the team, Crooks. He's a big player for them, but they've managed it without him. So that's important. They've got Palmer back on the pitch. They've got minutes into into other players that need them. Obviously, Burstow, we've not seen much of him. And Kamara, I thought Kamara was really lively, much better in the second half. So look, all in all, a really positive night. And let's be honest, we've not been able to say that too many times here at the MKM Stadium, have we, this season? So that's probably it from here. I'm going to trot off home and do what we need to do. We will be back with Ruben and a selected player on Thursday, I believe, to preview the trip to Ashton Gate. I think there's a 500 or 600 so far going down to the West Country on Saturday. Heck of a long journey. So if you're travelling down to Ashton Gate, safe travels, sing your heart out, and you just never know. We might just be travelling back up the M5, the M1, whatever else, with 3 points in our pocket. Let's hope so, because you know, that was really good tonight. Really enjoyable performance, as it turned out. Really enjoyable result, and we're all going to feel better, at least for a few days, aren't we? So thanks for watching, everybody. If you've been here at the stadium tonight, just a point on the support, actually. The MKM Stadium gets a lot of the fans get a lot of stick for how quiet they can be and all that sort of stuff, and we can debate all day long who chicken and egg scenario, isn't it? Should the fans get the players off this? Should the fans lift the players? Should the players get the fans off this? All that. But I thought from the first minute, fans are right behind the team. They sensed what a big night it was. Not the biggest crowd, just under 19,000. 400 from Plymouth. Credit to them as well, because that's a long way on a Tuesday night. 400 or so had come up from Plymouth. But I thought the fans were right with them tonight. In the second half, the atmosphere was great, and it was just wonderful to hear Quo at the end, wasn't it? That's not something that we've only heard it twice this season. So let's hope for more of that. Tom, thank you very much. Everybody else, thanks for watching. We will hopefully have a podcast over the next couple of days, looking back on tonight's game and looking ahead to Bristol City. As I say, we'll be with the gaffer and a player to look ahead to Bristol City over the next, I think Thursday. And then, we'll catch you down at Ashton Gate. If you're going down there, safe trip, and we'll see you again soon. Up the Tigers.